So next up, we have a presentation from SilverX Mining. SilverX is a growing silver producer operating in Peru with a focus of scaling production and delivering shareholder value through exploration and development. And here to present for the company, we have Jose Garcia, President and CEO of SilverX Mining. Please help me welcome him.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Bonjour, Madame et Monsieur. This is Jose Garcia, CEO and founder of SilverX Mining. I'm going to tell you an interesting story about a silver producer in Peru. I'm going to try to find the laser. How is this? Do I have a pointer? No. I wanted to have something to point on the slides. Anyway, I'm not sure this is. Oh, excellent. Thank you very much. SilverX is a company that we founded privately about 6-7 years ago, and we took it public at the TSX Venture back in 2021, so it's almost 4 years. And SilverX is a company that was taken public with the aim of growing organically and inorganically. We wanted to be able to replicate this a number of times. And what we've done so far is to be able to look at these historical mining districts, particularly in Peru, and we've done very aggressive exploration. We've been extremely successful with exploration, and we built a production story. And we want to be able to replicate that a number of times to become the so-called mid-tier producer. We aspire to be a relevant silver producer in the next few years. I'm going to give you all the foundations for that. For those who are here, I believe that you believe in silver. I think we're having eventful times. We saw silver rallying last night or the day before, now at $34. There is a lot of arguments to believe that silver is going to go up. I think if you are here, I don't need to get very deep into that because I don't have much time. But certainly, at this point in time, if you want to get real exposure to silver, I think you should look for producers, especially undervalued producers. Peru has been a silver producer for centuries. We are the largest concentration of silver resources on Earth. We are the second producer in terms of throughput. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of silver coming up in the next few years. Just the district that we are building contains hundreds of millions of ounces of silver. If you wanted to look at the value of SilverX, I would say that I could define the value around 3 pillars. First, we are a producer, and I think this is the time for producers. And we have a 720 tons a day facility that is working as we speak, and we are now looking at scenarios to growing this by 4 or 5 times. More importantly, we've been growing our resource. For those who've been following the company, since we took this public, we've updated the resource 3 more times. We started with 7 million tons of an inferred resource. Now we have 22 million tons. That's basically 175, 200 million ounces of silver equivalent. If you look across the board of all the small silver producers or developers, this is arguably one of the best resources you are going to find in the market. Take a look. And finally, obviously, we have an outstanding exploration potential. You are going to look at, I'm going to go to the next slide, by the way, while talking about it. But when you look at districts like that, this is central Peru, up in the Andes, almost 5,000 meters elevation. That's a lot in feet, something like 16,000 feet, 17,000 feet. This is massive epithermal systems. All these geology or epithermal systems, or whatever you want to call it, they've been known for hundreds of years, right? They've been in production since colonial times. But reality is that for a number of reasons, they were overlooked. We started production and exploration just 6-7 years ago, as I said, and we increased our resource a number of times. In Peru, typically you've got a lot of gold in the north, a lot of copper in the south, and all the silver polymetallic projects right in the middle. If you look at what we got, we decided to display this in a way that we have a processing facility right at the core of the project. We have a project at the north, we call it Tangana, and a couple of very nice, very high-grade projects down south. That project at the north has been in production and exploration, of course, for a number of years. 100% of the ore we are processing today comes from that project. About 50 or 60% of the resource is right there. That's a reality. It's not a promise. And that's what is a differentiation for SilverX mining. And then I said we did a last resource update just a couple of months ago. And most of the new resource, actually, or the additional resource, comes from this area. And we call it plata because plata in Spanish means silver. And it's really high grade of silver. And great skink. Luckily, we have that ahead of us. Now we're going to talk about the growth plans for the company. But look at what happened recently. And rather than getting into speculation terms, but this is a very large district. This is a major regional fault going that way. As I said, this is a really impressive epithermal system. All these red lines are basically veins that are outcropping. And there was a private company here. Everything you can see in yellow. We are blue. They are yellow. And Endeavor Silver took over that company just a few weeks ago. Why is this important? Well, first, it's good to have big boys in the neighborhood. That means that our project is really relevant. But look at the comparables, right? This is Minera Colpa, the private company, or used to be private, next door, and us. Colpa was heavily invested before us, so maybe $80 or $100 million US ahead of us in terms of overall investment. But when you look at the resource, it's very similar. They were a bit bigger in measured and indicated. That's somewhere around here, okay? Basically, 9 million ounces of silver in measured and indicated, okay? We're 9 as well. 60 million ounces in measured and indicated, sorry, that was reserves. We're 36, but look at the inferred. Overall, I think we're even bigger. What matters really here is that altogether, it's an impressive district. Colpa was processing at 1,800 tons a day. We are about 700 tons a day. Endeavor Silver just paid 175 US, so $250 million Canadian for this company. Our market cap today is 45. And more importantly, we have most of the upside. Colpa has been producing at a much higher throughput. They've been done a good job, actually. They've done a good job over the last decade. But everything is to be done here on the blue. And that's the value of SilverX. SilverX will become, I believe, bigger than that. But take a look, when you can, at the transaction that Endeavor Silver made on Colpa. I think it was a great transaction. Endeavor Silver used to produce around 9 million ounces of silver equivalent. Just with Colpa, they added 5 on top, okay? We are going to produce probably 7 to 8 million ounces of silver equivalent in the next few years, and that was our vision. But again, we always said we wanted to go beyond 6 million ounces of silver. We have everything. That picture is actually our plant, our tailings dam, and as I said, we are growing resource. I'm going to go quick because it's a pretty limited time, but for those who are interested, please look at the resource, right? We have actually about 4.2, was about to say 4.5 million tons of measured and indicated. That's very good grade, but really when you want to buy a stock like this, just look at that. Just the outcrops on our veins are more than 17 million tons. So in total, these are about 200 million ounces of silver equivalent. That's what will continue to grow. Of course, we'll be working on passing a bunch of that onto measured and indicated and reserves. We don't have a reserve statement yet. We don't consider that a priority for narrow vein mining, but this is going to continue to grow over the next few years. This is a snapshot of the area where we are mining and exploring. This is just Tangana, which is probably 10% of our district. These are 10 kilometers, 11 kilometers. Those veins are very long on a strike, 2-4 kilometers. It's a really impressive epithermal system. Those veins, this is demonstrated, they have a vertical extent of about 1,000 meters and more. And it's actually really impressive when you look at everything we've got here. We're mining only 2 veins. We did one counting one day with our GIS, and we have more than 200. And the overall length in terms of outcrops is more than 500 kilometers. So this is really impressive. And this is what we are doing today. We are mining right there. And now as we talk about growth, because we did a PEA on that, this very property a couple of years ago, we're going to put a new plant there. The next few years, we are going to have 2 processing facilities. Going to take this from 700 tons a day to probably 3,000 tons a day. And that's the larger producer we want to become. you look at our geology, and this is a very typical, polymetallic geology. We have veins that are in between 1 and 2 meters. They are typically vertical or subvertical. They contain silver, lead, zinc, and in our case, actually, it brings gold as well. Our metallurgy is very standard. We have a flotation plant. We produce 2 concentrates, lead that contains actually silver and gold, at zinc concentrate. We've been supported by a big trader, Trafigura, since we were private. So, and we are, by the way, we do mechanized mining. I think part of the expertise we got in Peru is the ability of mine these veins. I think in Peru, Mexico, Canada as well are countries where we are really good at doing these mining methods. And this is just a plan B of Tangana, only 4 minutes, but we're mining only 2 veins. Just look at that, okay? The ability of expand this quickly. I have to mention this because you would say, why SilverX if having all this resource that tiny, $50 million market cap? Well, not only because of probably poor management, but reality is that we built this company with little cash. It was a bootstrapped company since day one. And what's really magic about it is that we've been able to build this company basically to our revenues. The moment we are getting better, and we are really getting momentum at the moment, last quarter, we announced a profit for the first time in 2 years. We keep on updating our resource, and soon we'll probably announce, better ways for the company to get financed. But imagine the potential we've got here to expand quickly. On top of these veins, we identified gold targets. There's actually gold in our concentrates, but more importantly, there is very impressive gold targets in the district. As a producer, we try not to talk about greenfield exploration because that would deviate the attention, but reality is that we are going to be looking for partners and for ideas to develop these targets. This is not just a silver district, it's a gold district as well. Again, we never had the bandwidth to do everything we wanted. And just 2 years ago, on that small project called Tangana, we did a PEA that came up with very good numbers, basically 175 million US as an MPV for a modest capex, more than 4.2 million ounces of silver a year, average production, but this is only a portion of the district. So now, as we go forward, in the next few months, hopefully next quarter, you're going to see a new PEA that will incorporate this and the Plata mining unit. So we'll be approximately twice the capacity, twice the throughput. And that's what's really exciting. You are going to see a PEA that will propose a production threshold of probably 7 to 8 million ounces of silver a year. I think that's a relevant project. And this Plata, the new mining unit, as we call it, or mining area, we took an inferred resource here just a few years ago. We did a lot of data validation. We did a re-logging, and we came up with basically 6.5 million tons of high grade. For those who have the time, have the interest, go read our 43-101. This deposit, the Plata deposit, is going to be one of the best silver mines in South America for sure. And on top of that, these are the gold targets. I'll be quick. Again, we don't talk greenfield, but reality is that there is high sulfidation systems embedded in our project, and these are textbook steam-heated high sulfidation system. We aspire to drill it at some point, probably not this year, because we don't have the cash for that yet, but this is something we are going to be looking out for partners. We've been producing over the last few years. Actually, there's been ups and downs. Being a bootstrap company is always difficult. Last quarter, we announced a profit. Back in 2022, we had really good grade. We also had a profit. Reality is that throughput is increasing. We keep on improving our tonnage. We keep on improving our costs, our efficiencies. We've been always around $26, $27 all-in sustained cost. We're not happy about it. We're going to be down to 2022, okay? And we are doing everything we can. But it's great to be profitable being a small producer, I think that's a great value proposition going forward. And finally, I wanted to put a lot of emphasis on our community engagement. I think if there is a couple of things we've been really good at, it's been resources and exploration and also community engagement. We operate in the Andean region in central Peru, which is a mining area for decades, for centuries actually, and we operate with 2 communities. We've been able, having a very low profile, having a very direct, down-to-earth engagement with the community. We have probably 65% of our people from the very local communities. We give not only employment, but we actually provide opportunities for local business people. or transportation, hospitality, civil works. We have two deals with two communities, 15 years and 12 years. And there's very few companies in that part of the world that could announce that publicly, okay? We have a really stable environment, and we're really happy because actually those agreements cover the span of the mine life. So the whole LOM is covered by those two agreements, which is great. So basically, this is a summary of what I think SilverX is. I'll try recap in 30 seconds because these 15 minutes are gone. This is a company. We have David Glide, our CFO, is here with us, and myself, Jose Garcia, the two executives, and we're very happily supported by both Baker Steel, is a British fund, who is the largest shareholder. Francis Johnston is an insider. They actually own about 10% of the company. I am myself a second largest shareholder, and we also have Daryl Cuddy in Vancouver. Share structure, basically those two I just mentioned, okay, and retail, okay? When you want to look at our stock, 21 cents, 22 cents today, I think not only that it's supported by analysts, but I think we're a dollar deal. I think we need to do our homework. I think we've done great in resources. I think we've done okay in operations. We need to improve. I think honestly what the market is waiting for is having SilverX in a more solid financial position, and we're working heavily on financing the company, improving our cash flow. This is a company that's going to soar over the next few months because we're doing a good job, I promise. And you are going to see this. It's going to be impressive. Anyway, thank you for your time. That's all I wanted to say today.